I released my water turtles into this lake a few months ago. I had them for 12 years, the oldest one I had for 12 years, and I'd been thinking about releasing them into the wild, even though I really love turtles and they were my favorite pets. I'd been thinking about releasing them almost from the time I got them, because there was a certain anxiety that came along with not only being responsible for the well-being of another creature, but for being responsible of isolating this organism from its natural environment for the sake of my own emotional happiness or sense of well-being. And then I finally just let go and decided that it would be best for them to be where they're meant to be. Even the guilt that came along with knowing that, there's a high chance that they're going to get eaten, or the fact that their luxury life of having everything provided for them had come to an end. There was no guilt in knowing that I put an end to that artificial luxury life and gave them the chance to participate in the way they were meant to. And a lot of people are trying to find, what's the meaning of life. And one way of making a distinction between us and other animals is to say, well, look at the animal's life. It's so structured. They don't really have any meaning. They're just born, they reproduce, they eat, and then they die. Their life doesn't have any meaning, but ours apparently has more meaning, and we create meanings. But if you look at what we've created, the ideas that we pursue, the value system that we have, really isn't all that moral. When you take into account the fact that the accumulation of stuff has primacy over the well-being of humans, of our fellow man, you have to know something isn't right about that. Everyone has a instinct, I guess, to want to get things done, want to work. And if you don't have a job that contributes to the current social system, then you're lazy. But I look at the jobs that there are, the things you can make a living off of, and just see jobs that offer zero merit to society, to actually helping people. It's all just whoever has the most toys wins. Whoever has the most money has the most power. And those are the people who control the way that a culture works. And this culture is extremely insecure and socially stratified. So we put primacy of the individual pursuit of happiness, whatever that means, over the well-being of everything else. And somehow the pursuit of happiness is mistranslated in the mind to mean the accumulation of horse shit, basically. Whoever has the most stuff is the most happy, but that isn't true. Most people who have everything provided for them you realize that isn't enough. It's not enough to just get more and more. But that's the system we're born into here. So you go to, it's like you have this carrot in front of your face your whole life. You're born and you follow the carrot into school, and they tell you make good grades, make A's, memorize all this information, and then you get to high school and the carrot's bigger and it looks even better. But the carrot's moving faster, and so you have to hop along even quicker, and there's all these added stressors and questions of how am I going to identify myself? How am I going to distinguish myself from all these other rabbits chasing the same carrot? So in high school, people begin to develop their personalities, and you have blue rabbits and green rabbits and white rabbits and black ones, and they all think they're better than each other. The pink rabbits group together, the blue rabbits group together, and they all think that their in-group is special and more meaningful than the other rabbits. But really, all people are trying to do the same thing. We all have the same fears. We are all unique. We all have a distinct logic of the world, but at the same time, we have the same basic human needs. And I'm spacing out. And then you get to college, and things have gotten, you're getting ready for the workforce, for the real world. So this carrot, is getting closer and closer, and you can smell it, you can almost taste it. And then, after you've found your career, your profession, you go into the real world and talk to people, shake their hands. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. Weather's nice. All this small talk that doesn't mean anything. You don't really talk to people, you just talk towards them. There really is no real communication going on. Everyone's drained by the time they get home. Nothing, this carrot's getting bigger and bigger. You can almost finally taste it, and you do taste it when you get into the workplace, and it's stale by this time. The carrot's rotting and moldy, but you still think it's going to get better later on. So you work this job that offers no self-satisfaction, normally doesn't help anyone, it destroys the environment, it really doesn't make anything better, it just wastes time, and it gives you money so that you can survive. And it's just being pushed further and further to the end goal of obtaining this carrot. And you finally get there, and the carrot's gone. It was all just a hologram. But what we miss is, during this whole process, is the exotic array of fruits and vegetables and brownies and cupcakes and steaks and chicken wings and pizza that was under our feet the whole time. You didn't have to do all this superfluous sorry, I have a speech impediment, I think. You didn't have to do all this excess bullcrap that they say you do. It's really difficult to make a living off of skills that aren't culturally valued. The fact that advertising, more money goes into advertising products than the products themselves, should say something about where the value is placed. In order to keep the economy going, you just have to keep consuming. Consuming. It's really quite pointless, I think. As long as we keep our brains entertained, whatever we can do to avoid the sickness that's there. A lot of people, we don't realize that we're sick, but we are. The world's mentally ill. And we keep our brains entertained with a shitload of shit and hope that at the end of the road there'll be a golden carrot waiting for us. But there isn't. The only thing that's going on is what's going on now. We have to take action for now. If you can't be aware of now, then you can't be aware of now when it happens later. People are always obsessing over what they're going to be doing 20 years from now, what kind of house they're going to be living in, what kind of car they're going to be driving, all this stuff. But by the time you get there, then you're going to be worrying about 20 years later from there, because that's all you know, is how to worry about the future. You'll never ever be able to know what it means to be now. And nobody can teach this in school because it isn't productive. It's counterproductive. If people are satisfied with themselves, they won't feel any need to buy all this crap to try and make themselves happy. It's hard for me to talk because you can only really talk about one thing at a time, and there's a lot of information that is filtered, that you have to edit information to get out what's important. And normally I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but I know what I mean in my head. I just don't like words very much. They oversimplify everything. Two people can be in physical proximity with each other and open to each other's senses and sensory access, feel and touch and hear and smell each other. But there's two distinct universes of information taking place. Even though two people can agree that they like a movie or something, yes, on a superficial sort of conceptual level, they both like the movie, and communication takes place in that way. But there's still, the likeness of one person still exists as a unique reality in that person. People are multidimensional, and language is linear. So once you start speaking of something, it's still relevant to your own prejudices and past memories and experiences.